Oh, welcome back to Go for Two Sports. I am your host, Aaron Shed, and today we're going to be doing some power rankings. I'm going to be making a tier list with 8 tiers, and I'm going to put teams into each one team by team, and I'm going to break it down and tell you exactly what I think about your favorite squad, and let's get into it. First off, in these power rankings, I do need to break down the tiers for you. We're going to be having 7 tiers of teams today. The first going to be the Super Bowl favorites. These are teams that I think are going to be your favorites for the Super Bowl. They're going to win multiple playoff games, and they're going to be at least competing in their conference championship game to head to the Super Bowl. And then tier 2, you got the playoff teams. These are teams I think are locks to make the playoffs. May not be having the best start to the season, but are definitely locks to make the playoffs. The potential wild card, this is going to be your third tier. This tier is for the teams that I think I could definitely see coming down to just a couple of games at the end of the season if they get in or they miss out on the playoffs. Then you got tier 4, your missing playoff team. These are teams that I think that should be in the playoffs, but just missed out, had a disappointing season and aren't able to make the playoffs. Then you have tier 5. This is going to be mediocre at best. These are teams that I think that have good pieces and definitely a stage to build from, but are at least a year away from competing at the moment. And then you have tier 6, young but intriguing. This is going to be your teams that definitely have a lot of talent, but don't have the coordination or the pieces to pull it all together and become a good squad yet. And then your last tier, this is going to be the number one pick contention. These are your worst of your worst, the bottom of the barrel teams. These teams are going to be battling for the first pick. And for our first team, we're actually going to be number 32. We got the Patriots. The New England Patriots are going to be the worst team in the league. So far, this is how I'm feeling. Drake May is definitely a bright spot for the team, but the lack of talent everywhere else, and now the coaches turning on the players and players turning on the coaches. Not a good situation in New England. Bill Belichick called out his former player, now coach of the Patriots, Jared Mayo, for calling his players soft. And just a not a good scene in New England at all. As we're going to move on to number 31, we got the Carolina Panthers. My favorite team, the Carolina Panthers. They are bad. We're struggling on offense. We're struggling on defense. Andy Dalton was in a car wreck. We're going to turn to Bryce Young to start for Week 8. So, we may go from losing 30-7 to now losing 30-0 instead. So, definitely a step back. After this week, you may see the Panthers drop down and the Patriots take their spot. But right now, this is what I'm going with. As number 30, your number 30 team is going to be, where are they at? The Miami Dolphins. Here they are. The Miami Dolphins, that's the Cardinals. Here we go. Let's get the Dolphins in here at number 30. I think the Dolphins are in a bad situation right now. They have no quarterback, obviously. Tua's hurt, but Tua can come back. I don't think Tua's going to play much for the rest of the season. He's designated to come back this week. I think he will. I think they should call it another week or two until they bring him back, if at all. But I don't think the squad is very good even with Tua back. I think that they have some good pieces, but they definitely are just so banged up that this season you can just call it a wash. This season is over. And then that's gonna be it for the number 1 pick contention tier. We're gonna move up to young but intriguing, as we're gonna first have the New York Giants. The Giants are struggling. Daniel Jones is bad. The running game is bad. The offensive line is bad. Malik Neighbors and that receiving core actually is starting to come together. They got a young group in there, and it's actually starting to look like a pretty solid group. The defensive front is good, but the secondary needs work, as the Giants are going to come in at number 29. Number 28, we are actually going to be taking the Raiders. The Raiders up next, as the Raiders have problems everywhere. Just traded away Devontae Adams, and they need help at literally every position, quarterback included. Look for them to rebuild, but they do have a couple of good weapons. Like you have Brock Bowers at tight end. He's a beast. He's going to be a mainstay of this Raiders offense for the next several years. Moving on now, I am going to be taking the Browns as the next team here. Going to be young and intriguing. Actually, I may change this list up a bit. I maybe put the Browns. No, I really like their defense. I really do like their defense. I think I'm going to keep them in this group. Not as young, but they definitely are a very intriguing team, especially now they're getting Nick Chubb back. Unfortunately, a big blow is Deshaun Watson did rupture his Achilles. He wasn't having the best season, but is definitely better than the two backups over there, DTR and Jameis Winston. Sorry. They got a good defense over there, a bunch of good pieces on that side of the ball, but the offense needs help. They have no weapons. Top two receivers, Amari Cooper's been traded. Elijah Moore's going to be a free agent at the end of this year, so the Browns need to restock and reload. As moving on, we're going to take, let's see here, the Titans. The Titans are kind of the same as the Browns. They got a good defense, but their offense is just abysmal. Their starting quarterback, Will Levis, they obviously invested a third-round pick in him in the 2023 draft. He has not panned out. He's not been good. He's actually been memeable. He's been so bad that I don't even know if they will move forward with him next year. Look for them to maybe draft a quarterback or snag one in free agency. I'm not sure, but that's going to do it for this tier. As moving up now, mediocre at best, is we're going to have the Broncos. The Broncos have a nice core. Bo Nix is obviously going to get a lot better. The team is playing good. The defense is good, but they do have a lot of holes. As we seen that a couple weeks ago, is when Pat Surtain went down with an injury, their defense just looked like a different team. They definitely rely on him a lot and are definitely much worse when he is not on the field. Next team is going to be the Saints. The Saints up here. The Saints have an aging roster. It's very, very old. Derek Carr is, he's out of his prime now. He looked good to start the year, but injury kind of set him off. Have been starting Spencer Rattler since, who has not looked good. But when this team is healthy, I do like them a little bit more than the Broncos, even though they just got embarrassed by them on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago. But I do think that the Saints overall do have a better team and a much better roster. Moving on, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars have had a horrible start to the season so far. I definitely think this is a case of the record doesn't reflect the team, because the team is good. All right, the defense is good. The offense is good. It's just sometimes it seems like it has trouble putting that to use and translating that to the game. This team game plans very well, but the play calling during the game, it just seems like it's all over the place. It seems like the coaches aren't able to establish rhythm. Makes me really think that Doug Peterson is on the hot seat, and we may be getting a new coach in Jacksonville soon to pair with Trevor Lawrence. Moving on, we have the Colts. The Colts are next. The Colts have a it's a weird roster, because they definitely are a young team, right? They have Anthony Richardson at quarterback, and he is a beast. He can do it all, but he's been inconsistent, and he can't stay healthy, and he runs the ball 15 times like he's prime Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb. He's not afraid of contact, and as a quarterback, especially one that is picked top 5, and definitely he has the keys to the future in Indianapolis. You want to protect your quarterback a little bit more than that. Look for Indianapolis to invest in their line this offseason and the defense as well to try to make this team a playoff contender. Moving on, let's see, who do we have next here? I'm gonna go with, the Rams. The Rams. It's hard to get a good idea of what the Rams are, because every single year their talent is very top heavy with the talent on that roster, but they do have a bunch of young pieces. The defense is starting to come into shape. Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford. He hasn't looked good the last couple of weeks, but he's Matthew Stafford. He's going to get the job done. This team should look a lot better when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua return from injury, but until then, I can't put them any higher than this. Looking at these teams down here, I don't see any teams that I prefer the Rams over. Moving on to the next tier, the missing playoff teams tier. This is going to be the tier that I think the teams are definitely going to be battling for the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to make it in. As we are going to go here with the New York Jets. The Jets have probably top to bottom the most stacked roster in football, but they haven't been able to put it all together. You got to question if that's starts in the front office, as they did fire their head coach. They have an interim head coach running the show right now, and it's just not looked pretty for the Jets. They have a worse record so far through 7 games, 2-5, than they did have the past 2 years with Zach Wilson. Aaron Rodgers has not looked like himself so far in New York. Obviously, he was going to take a hit as he's, nearing 40, and he's coming off a torn Achilles. But he is a good player, and we know what Aaron Rodgers could be. Next team up, we have the Chargers. The Chargers have a good squad, obviously with Jim Harbaugh at head coach and Justin Herbert at quarterback. They have a good team, and the defense is good, racks up a bunch of pressures, but they need to find a way to just tie it all together and make a serious push. This Chargers team hasn't looked serious so far this year. It looks like they just want to come in and, just do whatever it takes just to get by. It looks like they definitely have a low confidence on that offense, as they are lacking weapons and trying to establish the run game. That's a big John Harbaugh staple of his type of play. I feel like the Chargers could definitely open things up with the offense if they wanted to. I just feel like they're playing too conservative, and we'll see how that works out for them the rest of the year. Team I like a little bit more than the Chargers, the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have a bunch of talent on the offensive side of the ball, but are lacking on the defensive side of the ball. Kyler Murray has shown that he can be an all-pro level quarterback. Unfortunately, that's not translated to any playoff success yet, but as this team is, they just added Marvin Harrison. They should have a couple of good draft picks in this draft, so this team is going to reload and definitely get some help on the defensive side of the ball in hopes that they can make a playoff push next year. Moving on to the next tier of teams, we have the potential wild card teams. These are the teams I think that are going to be battling for and or making the wild card round. I'm actually going to have the Cowboys as the lowest team in this tier. The Cowboys so far have been embarrassing. They haven't been good. Dak Prescott has been bad. The defense has been bad. 3-0 on the road, 0-3 at home. As a powerhouse team, you need to figure out how to win at home. Most places it's really hard to play, but in Dallas, it has been easy recently. The Lions come in and won 47-9. Moving on, you have the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals, I probably should have put both of these teams in the missing playoff tier, but I do think Cowboys more than the Bengals, but I do like that Bengals squad more than the Cowboys, so I'm facing a dilemma here, but I do think the Cowboys have a better chance at making the playoffs just because the AFC is more stacked, but the Bengals are a great team. Still too early in the season to count them out, as they're turning it around and stuff. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they got a really good squad, and the offense is starting to click. Moving on, you have the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons looked good, but they haven't looked consistent so far this season, as they just got embarrassed by the Seattle Seahawks. It's hard for me to imagine this team stays as good as they've looked so far this season. Their defense at times has looked good and other times have looked horrible. They implemented a huge bend but don't break strategy through the first 7 games of this season, and we shown last week against the Seahawks how easy it is for that to break and how bad that can blow up in your face. Atlanta needs talent on the defensive side of the ball. The offense is stacked. If they can just outscore teams, I definitely could see them making the wild card, but I don't think that they're going to win the division. I think the Bucs got it on lock even after the injuries to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Moving on, we have the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are going to be the next team here. Seahawks just destroyed Atlanta, but just like Atlanta have faced similar problems, as they don't have consistent play, especially on the defense. The defense at times have looked really good, but most of the time, that's a group that's just lacking talent and lacking explosive plays. They did just make a trade to bring in some edge rush help, so we'll see moving forward how that helps this Seattle defense. But good play by Geno Smith so far. He's leading the league in the NFL in passing, I'm pretty sure, and he is he's a good quarterback, and they have good weapons around him, good running game. Seattle could be a sneaky team in the playoffs. I doubt many teams want to see them when it comes to the playoffs. They're currently leading the NFC West, and I think they're definitely going to fight for that lead. I think the San Francisco 49ers, when they get healthy, will ultimately take that division. Speaking of that division and speaking of the 49ers, we have the 49ers up next, an injury-riddled team. They'd be lucky to make the wild card at this point, to be real. Jawan Jennings is out. Brandon Ayuk is out for the year. George Kittle is out with an injury. Deebo Samuel's out, was hospitalized with pneumonia, fluid in his lungs. San Francisco can't catch a break right now. It is still semi-early in the season, so they could turn it around and make a late-season push and end up grabbing one of the wild card slots or even winning their division. It's definitely going to be between them and Seattle, and I do think San Francisco will have the edge, and I trust that they will finish the season strong and clinch up that division. Moving on to the next tier, these are going to be the teams that I'm a lock. I'm a lock considering them to go to the playoffs, as we have not the Houston Texans, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers up. The Steelers, they made the switch from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson, and it has looked pretty good. And if they can continue that, they definitely will make a push in the playoffs. Just like the Seahawks, I don't think anybody wants to see this Steelers team in the playoffs. They're sneaky good. They have an amazing defense. They can make a high-powered offense come out and score 9 points all game. They know what they're doing on that side of the ball. Mike Tomlin, seems like year after year, he just takes whatever he has and turns it into the best possible situation. Whether Justin Fields or Russell Wilson is at quarterback, I believe in this team. I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers are very good, and they will make the playoffs. Next up, you have the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears have gotten off to a good start this season, especially behind their top 10 defense, which no one saw coming. The only question I have about the Bears is their lack of strength of schedule. They have been playing a bunch of crappy teams, so maybe the Bengals can keep it up against the good teams. I certainly believe they will, as I have them making the playoffs in the NFC. Obviously, not all the teams I think will make the playoffs will make the playoffs, but I definitely, right now, if the season ended today, the entire NFC North would be in the playoffs. So with that being said, it's hard to not have the Bears up here. Moving on to the next team, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have been great if you just look at their talent. They've been injured on and off so far to start this season. They haven't had consistent play out of Jalen Hurts. The offensive line has taken a step back from what it has been in years past, and this Philly team is tough. They're a team that needs to get on a hot stretch and finish the season out strong if they do want to make the playoffs and have a good showing in them. Moving on, we have the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Bucks would be higher on this list, but they did just lose Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and that game pretty bad to the Ravens. So the Bucks are definitely going to be struggling, but I do believe in this team. I still think they're the best team in the South. I think Atlanta could contend for that title, but I do think the Bucks will ultimately win that division. Really, honestly, though, Atlanta and Tampa Bay are interchangeable, if you ask me. I feel like it could go either way throughout the rest of the season, looking at their schedules and looking at their teams. If Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were healthy, definitely give me the Bucks. I feel like the Bucks can do more in that offense with Baker Mayfield rather than Atlanta with Kirk Cousins. He does have a limited arm, even though he is a good quarterback and a good decision maker. Moving on, you have the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are the Bills. They definitely got Amari Cooper, and that definitely helped them a lot. But they are lacking weapons on the offensive side. The run game still has yet to get going outside of Josh Allen this season. The defense has yet to show up, really. Greg Rousseau has been a big piece, but you got to wonder where Von Miller has been. the Bills defense just needs stars and needs help, as they are going to be a playoff team. They are going to probably win a playoff game, as Josh Allen is going to carry his team. But that's what we've seen so far this season. You got to wonder how long can they keep it up. The Bills do have a decent roster. I don't want to give them good, but they do have a decent roster. But it's just what Josh Allen can do with the little that he has. With Josh Allen at quarterback, I won't count this team out. I refuse to do it. He is a beast. Moving on, we have the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders were definitely a team coming into the season that no one thought would be this good, but with Cliff Kingsbury, offensive coordinator, and Jaden Daniels playing in his system, the Commanders have gotten off to a hot start. They did lose to the Ravens, and Jaden Daniels did get hurt against the Panthers in a blowout early in that game. He may miss this week against the Bears with a rib injury, but it shouldn't sideline him too long. We hope that he can come back, especially for my fantasy team's sake. We hope that he can come back healthy and lead this team to the playoffs. Outside of the Panthers, this may be the team that I'm rooting for the most. This may be my team this year. I always pick a different team outside of the Panthers because after week 3, there's no, the Panthers are eliminated from the playoffs every single year after week 3. So there's no point to continue cheering for a team that just isn't going to win. So the Commanders are going to be my team this year outside of the Panthers. I am a loyal Panthers fan. So the Commanders will be my team, though. Moving on, we have the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are amazing. Their young core of receivers is playing really good. At any given week, any of them can go off. You got Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. They're just stacked. Like, those are 4 names that I definitely could see each of those guys having 1,000-yard seasons, if not this year or next year, in the future, because they are all young. They have a really good offensive core there in Green Bay. Josh Jacobs at running back has top 5 most carries so far this season. He has been playing good. He got his first receiving touchdown this week, so that was a good juju on them, as he's able to break that streak of 221 catches without a score. Moving on, you have the Houston Texans, and this is going to be the last team of this tier. You have the Houston Texans. I know the Packers just beat the Texans, but the Texans had an unusual showing from C.J. Stroud, just 76 passing yards on the day. He didn't look good. The Packers probably should have blew them out, to be real. They did win thanks to a game-winning field goal, but the Packers should have blew them out if it wasn't for 2 Jordan Love interceptions. The Houston Texans are a team that I think that they have a lot of depth on defense, and their edge rush is phenomenal. It's just the offensive side of the ball, since losing Nico Collins, has looked a little rough. C.J. Stroud has been out of rhythm. The receivers aren't getting open. The lack of run game, even though Joe Mixon just went over 100. Now that he's back, so maybe that run game can get better. Houston Texans have a lot of problems, and it really starts up front, if you ask me. I feel like their running game can be a lot better than it is. They've relied on Joe Mixon to get these big explosive plays all season on the ground. But it definitely starts up front, as they need to get a better push on every single play. Because if you go one drive, one rush, 1 yard, you get 2 yards or 3 yards here and there, and then the next drive you get one big play for 20, 30 yards, and then the next drive it's back to just 1 yard, 2 yards here and there, not able to get consistency on that run game. It's definitely going to be a problem for Houston, as moving forward, they will need the run game a lot more. As C.J. Stroud has shown that he's taken a step back without his star receiver, Nico Collins. Moving on to the next season, these are going to be your Super Bowl favorites. These are going to be the top 4 teams that I think are going to be in the Super Bowl. It's going to be 2 from each division, and starting up with the worst out of the 4, we have the Minnesota Vikings. A lot of people are saying the Vikings team is exposed after losing to the Lions, but they did lose by 2 points off of a last-minute field goal. The Vikings aren't out yet. They're not done. Aaron Jones has looked good, his old self. Sam Darnold has looked good, and it's Sam Darnold, who thought he would be good, past 3 games into the season. Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. He's the best receiver in the league. He's going to do his thing no matter who's throwing him the ball. The offensive line has actually been a big surprise for me. They have a couple of good pieces, but ultimately a group coming into the year that I didn't think would be this well. They have done a very good job at protecting Sam Darnold, allowing bottom 5 in the league when it comes to pressures. So they are top 5 in the league, when it comes to pressures. So they are able to keep Sam Darnold safe and let him get the ball out of his hands. But ultimately, it's the defense for the Vikings that is holding this group together. Brian Flores has them boys that, they don't have a bunch of names, they don't have a bunch of depth, but they do have this grit and this undeniable thirst and want to just win. They go out there and they just win these reps sometimes. Like, it's not even close. Like, it's not even funny how quick the pass rush gets back into the backfield and sacks the quarterback sometimes. Brian Flores has been a menace against opposing quarterbacks, especially good ones. He struggles against the run a little bit, as was shown last week against the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs went over like 160-something yards. And the Vikings definitely need to get that in check. But I feel like if they get that in check, there's very little weaknesses to this team outside of the run game. Moving on, we have the Lions coming in at number 3. The Lions just beat the Vikings, obviously, but the Lions have a really good team. They did take a hit losing Aiden Hutchinson to a broken tibia and fibula, but this Lions team has a bunch of depth and showed that in the win against Minnesota, as 4 people come in and played for Aiden Hutchinson, and all 4 of them got a sack, as they were able to have a nice rotation going and a nice show of their depth there, as they were able to rush the Packers. They are going to be without Jameson Williams over the next 2 weeks for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing drugs test. So Jameson Williams will be out for the next couple weeks. I don't know why I'm saying Wilson. I don't know whose Wilson is, but he's definitely on my mind tonight. As moving on, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are undefeated, so putting them behind anybody is a little absurd, but off of what I've seen so far, I don't think that this is sustainable for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes looked abysmal, 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Leading the league in interceptions, by the way. He hasn't looked good. This has been his worst season to start so far in his career, but yet they are still 5-0. I bet the entire league is frustrated, because how can this team just continue to look good week after week? And it just doesn't make sense. Patrick Mahomes isn't playing good. Their receivers are injured, and they just keep swapping in and out, none of them having very good games. Travis Kelce's been to a slow start. It all starts for the defense for this Kansas City team, as their defense is on fire, definitely keeping them in games and letting this offense win, scoring little amount of points. And last but not least, we have my Super Bowl favorite right now, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens look indestructible. They just look... I know indestructible isn't a word, but it certainly describes how I feel about this Baltimore Ravens team right now, as Lamar Jackson is incredible. Derrick Henry looks like he's back in his prime again. They both just look... They just take turns lighting up defenses every play. It's either Lamar doing something crazy or Derrick Henry doing something crazy. And coming into the season, you knew it was going to be like this. You knew that backfield would be dynamic, but I guess no one was really ready for just how dynamic it would look. Zay Flowers has been really good, definitely stepping into that wide receiver 1 role. He was mic'd up last week. He's just a funny guy. Just listen to him run around and laugh and have a good time. He's definitely somebody that enjoys playing. That entire Baltimore Ravens team just seems like they go out there and have fun and, beat teams bad. And I do like the Ravens, as they did lose the first 2 games of the season to the Chiefs and the Raiders, thanks to a toe being out of bounds and a game-winning field goal from the Raiders. Take those 2 plays away, and the Ravens are, 7-0 right now, and, undoubtedly the best team in the league. As that is going to do it for Week 8 Power Rankings. This list is definitely subject to change and will change based off this coming week in football. The NFL is crazy so far this season, and this is probably not exactly what you thought the power ranking list would look like. Coming into the year, a couple teams have been disappointing. A couple teams have shocked us. But I feel like this is a pretty good list, as I will catch you guys next time. Thank you so much for all your support on the channel. If you are not subscribed, do me a favor and subscribe down below. It helps out the channel a lot. Smash the like button, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, leave me your hot takes about this NFL season. As I am done, I'm getting out of here. I hope you guys enjoy the list. I hope you guys enjoy the video. That's all for me. Thank you for watching Go for Two Sports. See you guys next time. Thank you so much for all your support on the channel. If you are not subscribed, do me a favor and subscribe down below. It helps out the channel a lot. Smash the like button, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, leave me your hot takes about this NFL season. As I am done, I'm getting out of here. I hope you guys enjoy the list. I hope you guys enjoy the video. That's all for me. Thank you for watching Go for Two Sports. See you guys next time.